Welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episodes, and this episode is very important because World Talent Economy Forum is focusing on developing cities and 300 different cities. We have our digital partners of World Talent Economy Forum, Ms. Victoria. We have our expert panelist, Mr. Adam, and Mr. Markley. First, I would like to give chance to Madam Victoria because we are developing project for cities and urbanizations. We do more focus on public-private partnership. So, how you want to contribute in these projects through your digitalizations and through your digital knowledge and everything?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sharif, for the video shooting today. So, yes, we represent several software developers who are working with various IT industries and various blockchains. So, if we are talking about the automation of something, it's definitely it is those various those type of teams who usually work to make these smart cities, because we know that smart cities is going to be aging trend currently, and usually if we're talking about smart cities, we are talking about some blockchains and some networking system building, which could be used for example, flying cars for eVTOL markets, so for flying taxis, as we see, for example, in Singapore and in several countries, cities in the US. We see yes, currently it is not so, the market is a little bit not so fast developing as it was because before the crisis inside Europe, there's a lot of cities and countries inside Europe also look up at this market of smart cities, and they open to the to such trend as flying taxis. So we are talking about the small cars which look like small jets and used for personal matters. But the main problems of the market is we have different providers, developers. Here, producers of flying taxis, flying cars, and usually each of them use their own network, their own blockchain sometimes, and the main thing here is to get some standards to standard for the industry, which will help to develop much next step of the eVTOL market. So if we're talking about smart cities, we definitely talk about this with this type of innovations inside each country who wants to provide smart cities inside their ecosystem. So if any have questions or some ideas, I'm open here to discuss. Dr. Sharif?
Thank you, Mr. Markley.
Well, smart cities have definitely been a big thing here in North Carolina. I know there are a couple of smart city initiatives here in the area and all along those lines. So definitely, I know that my friend Steve Rao, who's part of Pod TV, has been talking a lot about that smart TV smart city kind of activities and how that can be very much beneficial to a variety of cities, including some of the smaller towns, because unfortunately, as many folks know, the smaller towns are oftentimes left out of the smart city conversation just because of the cost behind them. And it sounds like what you are doing and all could be alleviating some of that as well. So it'd be interesting to see some of the things that Victoria's got in mind in that relationship, because smart cities is definitely a conversation that has been taking place in North Carolina, Virginia, DC, and I even know that there's been some conversations that have been taking place even in spaces like the metaverse and things like that. So I do know that it is a very much of a conversation where people are trying to make sure that we are having that digital connection and that we are able to have the things that we need, because that's really what smart cities are. It's a way to be interconnected and to use the power of the internet to actually make sure that folks have equity and things in that space. So the smart cities have also been involved in the equity conversations as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing some of these initiatives and how folks locally can be involved. And maybe Adam has some thoughts around that as well. But that is where my thoughts are as far as smart cities, because I do know that a lot of times it has been a big time initiative here in North Carolina to get those kind of smart cities, but I've also seen it in Virginia, South Carolina, and a number of the other cities that are on the East Coast and all along those lines. But definitely, I know it's a very powerful drive and a worldwide drive. But I'd love to hear Adam's thoughts about that as well, since smart cities are basically sustainable, connected, and livable cities. And that technology that exists helps that come about, and all in that way. As a matter of fact, some of our buses are becoming smarter as well. As a matter of fact, I just noticed that the buses here in Durham, North Carolina, where I am at, that they have recently added some technology to make sure that the routes are running on a schedule and that you know when the routes are coming, and all in that space. And definitely there's even some things that may be bigger that are not in widespread use, and all in that kind of space that may eventually come down into the smart city thing. I've even heard of talk of things as much as air taxis. And of course, we do know that there's the whole notion of the digital twin, which can be your twin doing some of your work elsewhere while you're at home taking care of the home stuff, and all in that way. So definitely seeing a lot of talk around smart cities, but smart cities are not cheap. But definitely there are the cities of the future. And I know that even when we did a celebration of one of our organizations, and even the city of Durham, and they were looking at what the future looked like, it definitely looked like a smarter city and a more technologically driven city than it is now. And it definitely had some of that more agricultural kind of background historically, but it is also meaning here in Durham a city of innovation, and a city that has a lot of innovation going on regularly, and even had that historically. But folks don't want to get left out and be caught in the outside, not being able to be involved in these smart cities. That's even a conversation that existed in the metaverse as well. So that's just some of my thoughts, but I'll turn it over to Adam. He may have different thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Adam.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. Good to see everyone. I'm a big fan of cities. I love cities. I love traveling and visiting cities I've not been to before. And as an artistically minded person, I can really appreciate that cities are a creatively fertile environment where it's easy for subcultures to coalesce, and for people with similar niche interests can come together. Cities are ideal for art and music scenes, and there's a degree of anonymity there where one can blend in and enjoy some degree of anonymity in a city that is not always possible in small towns and villages, where it's likely where everybody knows your business and your comings and goings. As much as I like cities, I do fear that that degree of anonymity might not always be available. It might become more and more difficult as surveillance technology becomes more sophisticated and ubiquitous, and harder to hide from. And cities have always been hazardous. Cities have always had no-go areas and certain quarters and things. But it seems like urban poverty and squalor is getting worse. People have said for years, get out of the cities before COVID and before lockdowns, and back to when, before certain groups were causing like chaos and carnage, like Antifa and such. There's been increasing unrest, and as you know, I live in Nottingham in England, UK, and homelessness has exploded. Not just in Nottingham, but in lots of English cities. and it's shocking how badly it's gotten worse. It wasn't half as bad as it is now, even 2 years ago. And I certainly think that synthetic cannabinoids, so-called, like spice and K2, were greatly responsible. They were absolute disastrous substances for vulnerable people. There were reports that they were more addictive and harder to come off than things like heroin. And also, it's very cold here right now. It's a really harsh winter going on, so I really feel for for the homeless community here in all cities right now. And I just can't believe how bad it's gotten. Cities are places of extremes, great ups and downs, and with all this talk of smart cities, it seems like there's great promise, but things are looking not so smart from in my mind in the near future. Things are looking quite grim and dystopian, unfortunately, and so I'm a bit skeptical whether smart cities will improve people's lives or just take more away from people, and we'll just live in a bit of a world where freedoms are taken away, and you're only allowed out at certain places a certain number of times. So yeah, I'm a bit pessimistic at the moment. Thank you.
Hey, Adam, just really quickly, and I don't know, maybe Sharice got some thoughts about it, maybe Victoria does as well, but I was actually just having a very recent conversation with some people about the nature of the urban city divide, well, the rural urban divide that exists here in the United States, because there seems to be a big divide between those two communities. I mean, of course, there's conversations around the racial divide, but there are also divides around the urban versus the rural. We see that here in North Carolina. We see that to some degree in California. We see that in places like New York and places like that. So I know that a lot of times when we talk about smart cities, we don't necessarily talk about smart rural areas. And even I think that some of the issues that the smart cities are trying to address need to be also brought to the urban, the rural areas as well. And in that same note, I've also seen where a lot of folks have been having conversations around the world. I was actually talking about this on our news show here earlier today on Pod TV about how a lot of folks are feeling that they want to be more insular in what they do. So they want to create some of more of their food, their enterprises within whatever country they are in. And I've seen a number of countries do that around the world. I think India has a policy that is kind of like, Indians for India and things of that nature. Of course, there's those kind of U.S. policies that exist as well. And I think there have been some other countries, including maybe Germany and others, that have had that kind of thoughts. I didn't know if Victoria or you, Adam, or even Sharif had any thoughts about that, and how the smart city and urbanization conversation can play into that conversation as well. Because I do know that that is something that a lot of people are paying attention to, is that urban-rural divide, and also whether people need to be creating more of their own products within their own neighborhoods, whatever those neighborhoods are. I mean, we've even seen that some in the African American community, where people are like, doing buy black campaigns, and I think there might even be buy brown campaigns in the Hispanic community, and various other campaigns where you are trying to encourage your growth in your designated community, whatever that community is, whether it's on racial or ethnic lines, or whether it's around geographical lines, or whether it's around religious lines, or a number of other lines that exist in society. But I didn't know if you, Dr. Sharif, or Adam, or Victoria had any thoughts about that.
I'm sure that smart cities, yes, it's like one of the feature of smart cities is smart people. It's we need to.
Oh, she dropped off. Hopefully she's,
uh, for example, understand what technology is. Of course, if you and in some countries or some cities, there is no need to implement this service. But I'm sure that if we're talking about smart cities, we're talking about the some IT features that could be implemented inside urban marketing or urban strategy of each cities. We see that Dubai is developed, and United Arab Emirates, they invest a lot about to build such a cities. They just buy the all new technologies and new art installations or museums and copy pasting them inside their ecosystem and build in such a way the whole city. It is and if you are going out of the city, you see desert. Uh, there is a possibility to move forward in this case, but yes, we should before this we should realize that in order to build something, we should have peace in this area, of course. Mm, in any case, but it's not the some dogma, because we see, for example, Israel, they are developing very fast and they have war inside their country, still have war. They have no winter, but they have war. And we should understand that every smart cities usually uh, could be provided in those areas where we have some unity about the government state. So we have, if we are talking about Arab Emirates, so we are talking about the people, all people agree with the state of the country, government state of the country. If we're talking about some democratic countries, everybody agree with this democratic state of the country, state of the government. We're not talking about the people. So even in communist country, I'm sure that it could be implemented. It's the question of technologies and some unity inside society, of course. So there is no peace inside the area where it will be implemented. But who knows? Maybe we implement we will be smart cities and we will have some cyberpunk uh, reality. It's no, there is no. It is the understanding that people are animals. Want we this or not, they want to have war or have the enemy. It's like some psychologies. So we should implement some features as well. We have some cortex instinct in this case. Cortex. It's like in reply to Adam. Yes, for example, my sister is in Kiev right now, and I know the situation very hard. I know it is hard uh, mm, for the mood of the people, but I believe that Ukrainian is very strong nations, and I know a lot of Kievans, so a lot of my friends who continue to develop the country and the IT industry still continue to develop IT industry there. So it isn't excuse you. So if you have some questions, Dr. Sharif, please share.
I just want to know actually, like how the e-commerce side for construction industry can integrate it with VR, AR, and IoT.
What was the question again?
How e-commerce site can integrate with the modern technology like Internet of Things, VR, and AR, like how it can be benefit for cities and urbanization. Victoria, you want to give the answer?
Answer. I have the answer. I know the one company who trying in Russia sell the real estate using the AR/VR system. I don't know how it will be successful. So just have some virtual tour on your future department before to buy it. And of course, if we implement it, we will have a lot of scams here as well, for sure. But it's a good idea. And for AR, VR also could be used for fashion industry. We know a lot of startups who use virtual masks as clothes, as dress or trousers. You could, as you use filters, you could use filter who will dress you as you see on the example. So it will be much more helpful for when we have some more development inside Web 3.0 industry. So that we all the industry. So when we a lot of from us will use metaverse, a virtual universe as some presence and some way of communications and business deals. I'm sure it will be tomorrow. To use for example, I know that Peter Diamandis during his studies use AR VR technology to attend the conference and to make Zoom sessions, to make some educational session.
And I think we're already seeing some of that. I'd love to hear Adam's thoughts about that. But a lot of people are looking at digital assets in the Web3, like Victoria just said, and everything. Because I do know there are people that are using their digital assets to do everything from creating digital malls to creating digital fashion shows and even setting up and selling digital products that are out there as well. And if actually the product that we are using right now, because I know that we're recording on StreamYard, and if you look at it, StreamYard, which is actually owned by Hopin, was recently created a whole system where you can do entire webinars, and some of those webinars can also be charged webinars because that is actually a new feature that they just added. So you can literally do this as a webinar with a amount of attendees being limited and all of that. And I think you can even do a charge model if you choose to or not choose to. But that is something that they just recently added, and that is something that is out there, and I'm sure more people will be using it. I've already gotten some invitations from people that are doing webinars since this particular platform has made that available to others as well. So definitely that is a way that we are seeing e-commerce blended in with some of the newer technologies, and this is just one company that is doing it, and I'm sure that Restream and some of the other competitors that are out there are doing it. I do know that one of the concerns, and I think I heard Adam say that he is an artistic person, is the kind of making sure that you have the proprietary rights or whatever is created as a content creator and all in that space. Because I do know a lot of content creators, be they funk musicians like my friend Zach, or be they photographers, like I have a number of photography friends, or even actors and filmmakers and stuff like that. They love being the content creators, but they also don't want their content, if I can just put it bluntly, hijacked and all in that. They want to make sure that they have the rights, and they also want to make sure that if they don't have the rights, that people are not claiming rights for them. That has been an issue, and I know this is going outside of the conversation, but that's been an issue with Facebook and YouTube, where you can create something and then they will sit there and tell you that it is going against their standards, or that they want to charge you, or they want to somehow have some sort of ownership of what is plainly yours. I get it if it's somebody that's a big star like Beyonce and Prince when he was living, or some of the other stars that are still living now, like Sierra and other folks. But I do know it becomes more problematic if you don't have the actual ownership, so you can create it and then not own it. But I heard that Victoria mentioned blockchain, and blockchain technology is something that is helping in that space. And I know me and a business partner have actually formed something called Max Distro, which is helping podcasters get distribution and get wider distribution. And definitely we are using the blockchain and the metaverse to make sure that that happens, so that folks have true autonomy in their creation and also get true rewards and all in that space. But as I heard, Adam is a creative as well, and I'm loving his backdrop with the little dots in the back and everything. I'd love to hear some of his thoughts about this notion of the dangers of what can go on in that space as well. You're on mute, Adam.
Yeah, the digital medium is very interesting to me, because um, it's quite mixed bag, really, because it feels like the digital medium kind of makes it easier to leave a legacy behind, or leave something behind. I mean, people I've heard people say nothing on the internet can ever get truly deleted. It's always out there somewhere. Um, uh, but at the same time, it's not very secure. I've heard that some areas of the military, like those involved in nuclear facilities and launch codes and stuff, still use like floppy disks and
Mhm.
tape and analog because it's more secure and it's not as hackable as something digital. And only the other day, I realized that Facebook had locked an old account of mine because I've tried to access it with my iPhone, which is not a familiar device for the old account. So I'm trying to unlock it and have access to all those years of photos and writing and memories, and it's really frustrating because that it calls into question, do you really own your stuff or does the company own it? And so it got me to thinking about the legacy and digital immortality, and I'm quite interested in the link between internet and mental health. And
Right.
I think we all know kind of what people think about like TikTok and social media's effect on mental health, and whether it's eroding our uh, attention span or ability to concentrate. So I'll be really intrigued to see what the Internet of Things does. Will it take us more down that dark path, or will it maybe improve the human condition? Maybe it'll be a blessing, and yeah, maybe we need to have time to get used to using it, and that in a way that's not harmful to our mental health.
What are your thoughts, Sharif, and everything? That's
I want to know more from Victoria because she's expert on digitalizations. So, as a World Talent Economy Forum, like digital corporations, so we love to more engage with people. One thing, Victoria, like the emerging economy, they have massive problem with internet. Do you have any solutions, or do you think it has alternative?
I know that Elon Musk is doing great things inside this industry. We do not have the solution for Russia, for example, or in Ukraine, because usually it is all connected with the Wi-Fi adapter. But we see that a lot of people as well they invest in these features in this industry. So in order to make the internet more extended, we should, for example, in Africa, we have this problem. If you we have a lot of people inside Africa who work with us, and we see that the time slot of their answers sometimes have big difference from the U.S. market, for example, when you are working just like day by day and minute by minutes. You have the answers from Africa could go from, for example, as this status you could get in a day or in couple hours, and sometimes you do not have the connections with the manager because or your partner because of the lack of interest. And here the main problem and it could be to solve this situation using the providers who provide the connections with communication with the network. So it's usually mobile companies who could provide 3G, 5G, or at least 3G inside mobile internet, because we see that a lot of people currently use just phones to work outside the office. And it is much important to have a good mobile app with the internet. Usually, it is connected with the service provider, with the mobile company, some mobile company, and mobile companies usually connected with the satellites. I know that Elon Musk tried to solve this, and also we had in Russia, it was one company, it was called Toyota, who provide the small gadgets for Wi-Fi, and you have some opportunities to work in Siberia and use the internet if you have at least the connections and there. So to solve the problem with the satellites, we should talk about space tech much more than about internet. So internet could be solved only using space technology, or at least some um, 3G, mobile providers who could solve these situations. So it is connected with the mobile providers. But of course, if we're talking about the good internet, currently the highest level that we have is 5G. But of course, it's not the top of the top, and we see how this technology is developing. Each year we have new apps, which is more convenient for us. 20 years ago, we used telephones with the without the screens. Currently, we use screens, and we could use video cameras as well. So yes, I'm sure that will have some news here as well.
Thank you. Mr. Adam, anything you want to add for internet connections, good internet facilities and everything?
No, nothing at the moment. I'm just thinking.
Okay, Victoria, can I ask you another questions?
Yeah, yes.
For digitalizations, like we know Internet of Things also important. So can you like educate our authorities that how Internet of Things work or how it can be benefit for cities and urbanization?
Inside smart cities or inside the organization?
Any organizations?
Uh, in any case, we should use me as a business owner vote for outsource work. We implement a lot of on one implemented side company a lot of networking inside the internet, and usually we see that a lot. We use a lot of apps, and we could use a lot of apps for health, for mental health, or buying something. So it is connected with e-commerce, and for work, a lot of time slots and or time managers we have inside the internet. So yes, it's like one of the one of the toppest industry where we have a lot of startups as well, and usually it is connected here with the smart cities as well, because we see even currently we have some technology that use holographic screens for mobile apps. So currently we have screens and have every time some problems with them, because if you broke your screen or video a video feature inside your MacBook or computer or apps, you broke your app, you broke your mobile phone or whatever you use for work. And but currently I saw the technology that use holographic screens, and in the future you could use holographic type or holographic screen, and you will not have the problem. You need only the good apps that will reproduce this holographic map picture on your apartment, or maybe it will be connected, I don't know, with the light. I'm not sure how it is work, but it's look good. It's look awesome. And in here we will need only um, some uh, some apps that will be retranslate all the picture.
Mhm. Thank you. Mr. Adam, anything you want to add now?
Yeah, just I wonder, will there be a way for people not comfortable with the Internet of Things to opt out of being part of that system? And if so, could they still live in a smart city, or could they live a healthy and happy life in the countryside? And in the future or near future, will people still be allowed to have and enjoy freedom of movement beyond cities, smart cities, or whatever? And will people still be living in the countryside in the age of smart cities, or will will it be just for visiting, and maybe they will not be allowed to live in the countryside because of like the climate or something?
Mhm.
I think that it will have some microchipping as a passport. There is no problem to live abroad the city or in some village or to live in the city. So if we are talking about the cities, is still some ecosystem and some place where a lot of people of various mentality and characters lives and works and develop the industry. If we are talking about the village, of course, it's not obvious. But well, mm, yes, of course, we will have some people who do not want. I'm sure that it's not the. Uh, I'm afraid that there is no possibility that it will be everywhere and it will be prescribed by the government, not on this stage. But who knows? If it will be prescribed for everyone, so it's like some obligation to be a citizen, you should be chipped. It is one case. If it will be like free will, no, because if we're talking about smart cities in the next decade, there is a lot of big possibility that we will use some microchipping inside, now, like Neuralink do, because microchipping of the person, of human being, it's not about to be some robot. It's to be is to solve some usually, and it was developed as to solve some uh, mm, neuro problems inside the human brain, because there is a lot of apps and researches for Alzheimer and Parkinson disease. And before we will solve the situation with the DNA editing and reproducing of human organs, we will definitely have this stage when everybody will be chipped, or it's like we use some metal tips to help people to move forward. So again, or some to use them as a leg or arm. So that's why we will use the microchip. Microchip, and it will be for some mental problems, for age-related diseases usually. Now, I don't think it's bad, because if people put yeah, state his mind or a state of health using this microchipping, it is good. It's it will help to move forward to humanity and to live. It's like some another sort of the immortality and digital immortality as well. So maybe someone and before, of course, before we will solve the situation with the DNA and the immortality, using DNA, using some organs, some uh, develop, we will solve some grad, or we'll have this stage when we use robots just digital immortality. Maybe we do not need to the DNA in the future, but so it's like the forecasting. It's not the short forecasting. No. But for sure, we will have the stage of like cyberpunk has. So it's for sure. It's our future, definitely, and the nearest future.
Yes. When we discuss about cities and urbanization, entrepreneurship, innovation is most important part. So, what you want to share about women entrepreneurship, Victoria?
I'm glad that a lot of I see a lot of women and colleagues develop their own their project. I'm vote for that for sure, and my colleagues with whom I work. Women, every time I say that I'm not against some development, self-development, I vote for that and respect this. It is good for women, especially women should be financially independent. I'm not sure that I don't think that we have a big difference here. You like some cultural things, but no, women are still women, will be women, and men still be men. So maybe we just when we solve some cultural issues, it will be much easier to move here. But women entrepreneurship is developing all over the world, and it's like. The women should be independent as well, and if they want, of course. It's another level of freedom. So I know that in Ukraine, for example, it's not the problem for women entrepreneurship at all, and in Russia, as far as I know, too. Europe, it's a lot of countries in Europe has women have women inside the government. In some countries, women are president or presidents, so rules the country. So Queen Victoria was a woman, so it is good traction. We have here good traction in any case. And of course, it is good that it is promoted with the help of other women outside the country where we have some problems, for example, some negative situations.
Thank you. Mr. Adam, what you want to add for cities and urbanizations? Especially, you can share your experience about smart cities projects. I think you visit Europe, different places of the Europe recently. And
Yeah.
besides that, what you want to share about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I was just thinking. Well, I'm very interested in suffering-focused ethics and the works of David Pearce and other such scholars and philosophers pioneering the abolition of involuntary suffering. So what Victoria said about the chip was very appealing. I was just wondering. Maybe Victoria has some thoughts. Will every major city be retrofitted into a smart city, or will smart cities be new projects and developments built, especially like Neom, the Line City in Saudi Arabia, I think? And could we have smart cities out at sea, like in seasteading, or and build new ones like out in the desert, making like they did with Dubai?
But I don't know, but for sure we will have some city satellites on the planet before we have it will have all the network, all the technology will be all over the world. We have some small cities satellites or big cities satellites, of course. It is like in ancient countries, in ancient centuries. It was like in ancient centuries, cities were the centers of the development for people or for to work and to earn money. So I'm not. I don't think so that something had happened here. So it is maybe uh, like some humor. Maybe if aliens will attack us, we'll move faster. Because currently, after COVID, we will move much faster than before the COVID era. So, because of the crisis in the Europe, we are moving faster in some directions. So we have a lot of migrations. Uh, mm, uh, flaws all over the world, and maybe if aliens attack us and we will copy paste their technology, it will be much faster than we already discussed. So all that happens inside our planet, it is goes through the crisis, unfortunately, or it is good for us. It will we do not know because it is usually our personal ability and attitude and responsibility to go through the crisis in the right direction. Do not be broken.
Yeah, war unfortunately does speed up development of technology. I think it's been noted. Um, a crisis is quite acts like a catalyst in technological development, and um, I know like Sharif said, I like to travel and around Europe and to different cities, and I'm very grateful for my smartphone and Google Maps and trying to find places when I'm in a new place that I've not been to before. So I'm very grateful for technology, and it's been a mostly positive influence in my life, and it's helped me go to places and achieve things. And so, and I think yeah, in a couple of years we won't be looking at screens. Maybe we'll be uh, experiencing augmented reality, the mixture of real reality and virtual, maybe using contact lenses that project into our eyes, and um, we'll be maybe interacting with our environments in a kind of augmented reality. Um, and then definitely nobody will get lost. So,
Dr. Sharif, do you want something to add?
as he frozen. Oh.
Since it's something with
Victoria,
network.
what's your yeah?
Do you want something to add, Dr. Sharif? Guys, I want to apologize because I need to make some another call. Maybe thank you for the conversation. I will join you in the next meeting as well. Thank you. Will you apologize me? I need to leave the conversation currently.
Oh, Mark's back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sharif freezes sometimes. It was a good conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for the conversation.
No problem. Thank you.
Gotta love technology. It looks like Dr. Sharif has frozen and all of that, but
Yeah,
definitely an amazing
I was
conversation. And
just
I know that we've
yeah,
got things going on with technology and all of that.
I was
But
just
I've
loading
actually
technology.
introduced the
Yeah,
other show that I've got going on. We've also got uh, Dr. Pamela Marshall talking about things going on in that space with Barbara H. Smith. We regularly do, so that's why I had bounced off. But definitely glad to be here. The conversation around cities is very important to have, and even the kind of way of creating them, but also making sure that they are equitable and fair, and that they are not being against the society, but actually being pro society and helping society in its growth. And I definitely think that those can be wonderful things. I've even looked at the possibility of getting some digital property and all of that, but I don't know that I have the resources right now to get a digital mall or a digital island or any of the other digital things. But I do have a company called Max Distro, and Max Distro is helping podcasters and others get out there in that space of distribution and all of that. So we'll be using the smart model as well, and already are using the smart model because my partner is involved in the metaverse and involved in virtual reality and a number of other things. So we'll be adding that component, just like you are adding the component with Victoria and some other businesses that y'all are doing, Dr. Sharif. But we're looking forward to that, and definitely folks can go to maxdistro.store if they're interested in seeing some of the things that we are doing and all in that space because there's also some store items there as well. Get your t-shirt, Adam. I need some sales. So get your t-shirt and all in that space. But that's a little bit of things that we've got going on and all in that way. But digital media is very real. I got to love the technology because I'm seeing Dr. Sharif go in and out because that's the other thing that we got to do is we got to find a way to make these internets more stable in those countries like Nigeria and Bangladesh and other places, so we can continue these great conversations and not have it weave in and out the way that it does. But don't feel sorry, because it also happens here in the United States in some of our rural areas, which is why we need more balance between the cities and the rural areas as well. That's just some of my immediate thoughts as I know we're winding down, and I'm producing my friend's other show on the other side. But just some quick thoughts. Adam, your thoughts, and I'm gonna go on you.
So my audio is a bit not very good. Yeah, I've definitely noticed a definite increase in people urging each other to learn skills and crafts that a lot of people feel are at risk of being forgotten, like self-sustaining communities and growing your own food as a response to what people feel as might be a growing threat from bodies like the World Economic Forum, and depending on what your opinion is of them, if it's positive or negative, and so hopefully smart cities won't take that away, and in a way, technology and access to more information can surely help preserve these skills and these crafts.
Домой.
I think everybody's frozen. Oh, Sharif's gone.
Frozen. Yeah, there's a lot of freezing. I don't know where Sharif went and everything. Victoria, I'd love to hear more about this PR company of yours, because I do know that was something that people were talking about as well. But I'd love to hear more about it, because I even see it in your avatar. I'm loving. I think that's a tiger or something in the symbol and everything. So if you're clearing us, I'd love to hear more about TradoBusiness.com and what it's all about.
I'm sorry, I'm not in good connections. Yes, we are an international PR company, communication company who use the best qualified persons all over the world to provide this good service for our clients. Usually we work with the innovations, but we work also with the government stuff, and we are specializing before that on blockchain technologies as well, on PR communications with publications like media all over the world. It could be some media from Asia or Russian Federation or Ukraine or US market or in Europe market or African market as well. So we started. The idea was to be present in each region and to be present using by the person who are insider of this region, insider of innovation technologies, of those companies who provide innovations insights on the government level. So it's who change the world to be a better place for. We also make donations to various charity initiatives. We help TFDS, Transdisciplinary Group for Future Discussion, where I am head of markets. We were one of the sponsors of their previous conference in Johannesburg. Then for unfortunately, I couldn't attend it by myself, but we were present there and helped with PR in any case. Hopefully, we will work with Dr. Sharif on the next conference in Bangladesh, and we will provide some PR service for sure for him. Yes, if you have some questions, you could. I will gladly help you personally with the PR, with the marketing and GR as well. You could direct me, and I'm open answering all the emails there constantly, and try to provide some startup help day by day.
Thank you, Madam Victoria, Mr. Markley, and Mr. Adam, for your continuous support for World Talent Economy Forum. And Mr. Markley, we want to do a series with your blood business communities. If you share your guest name as well as the topics, hopefully we can do the 4 different session with your guest, and hopefully it can bring more solution and prosper for Asia Pacific community. Thank you, Mr. Markley, Mr. Adam, and Madam Victoria for your continuous support for World Talent Economy Forum. Thank you. Bye bye and take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.